this list of.
I've got a different idea. I've got a sort of different idea.
God has this other list. They didn't worship me. They didn't seek me. Because the first and greatest commandment is to love God. And when we love God, then we will be good neighbors.
Well, like, if they weren't, like, okay, I know what you're going to say this, but like, they're Buddhists, okay? All right? And that was, they were seeking it and they were misinformed. They worship the principles of Buddhism. They were a good person in their day as well, even though, like,
are you really going to read Storm?
God is everywhere, correct?
You're not Tim Minchin, don't read Storm.
Is that right?
Come on!
It's his thing.
I mean, God is everywhere. But that doesn't make us partakers of God.
If I were one of these people that he was talking about, and I came and I walked by,
that one's better.
My first perception of this whole entire endeavor would be, I would perceive it as something hateful.
Except that
it seems like there's a lot of hate that's being preached right now.
Well, you know what? Not all hatred is bad. I hate to see children playing in the highway. Listen, I hate to see children playing in the highway. I scream and say, get out of the highway!
Right, but
you're in danger.
That's not hate. That's not. I'm not talking about.
Yes, it is.
No,
It
that's
is
not
also.
hate.
No.
No.
Listen, children, I got all this.
A question about preaching hatred, about someone condemning someone for not knowing them, or for who they are, for having different beliefs.
You know, when we get
in a social context, that is hate.
When we get in a position of criticizing and condemning the judge of all men, we never can win. Because listen, you know where you get your sense of right and wrong.
Do you consider yourself a person in a democratic society?
It doesn't matter about what
Do you value democracy?
It doesn't matter what I consider myself. Besides, this is a republic, not a democracy.
Republican democracy.
That's a big difference.
But I'm not going to change They're both democratic concepts.
Even though it's what God thinks. God is the judge of all men.
How do you know what God thinks?
You and I have broken God's laws. I deserve.
About Muhammad.
Seems like God thinks a lot like you do.
Unless the Lord convinces you that you have broken His laws and therefore you are guilty and deserving of His judgment, it's not hate to go out and warn people to turn from their wicked ways so they can avert the judgment of God. God has a track record.
Anyone who would claim to have supreme authority over anyone would not have the right to judge at all. It would be illegitimate.
Except for the judge, the creator of all men. He created us, and so He has.
Well, that's a. First of all, I mean that's a whole separate issue.
No, that's the fundamental issue. The fundamental issue is that God created us.
Well, there's no proof that a God created anything.
Right. And there's no reason to believe it anyway.
There's no reason.
Just like if I was holding a .38 special gun loaded, I wouldn't have to prove it, man. I'm just using it.
That would be proof that it was there.
Yeah, you see, and you know what? There happens to be. By the way, guns aren't
gun. I'm going to shoot you.
People kill people, not guns.
Religion does.
People kill people.
And same with the streets. Cars kill people, not the streets.
But listen, because God is our creator, and that is the starting
Prove
point.
it. One word, prove it.
You and I can never progress to point 2 until we deal with.
Maybe we should only deal with point 1.
That's why we say evolution is a lie.
It's proven by genetic evidence and the evolutionary records.
There is
I have
evidence
for evolution
than for
but
gravity.
probably not like a lot of
Understand
Baptists,
gravity.
because a lot of Baptists are bad.
But what about the transition?
I have nothing against
It's water.
Being a Baptist, being any other denomination,
there's no evidence
does not save.
That's just my
Don't have
yours. Did you observe it in the laboratory? I don't see any crocoducts around, so I'm not gonna. I don't see any crocoducts.
Denominational label they have, they're safe. You've got to save them.
That's not evolution.
You're saying
That's
You're saying a lot of Catholicism was created like what, 18?
Even though they truly believe that Jesus is the God. I understand the theory before you try to
Heaven's going to be kind of lonely with like a couple thousand people.
Hey, you guys take it easy.
Good luck. Have a good one.
three things you have to agree with.
No, that's a little bit too simplistic. The gospel message has two faces. You want to simplify it. Stick with this one. He said, preaching repentance toward God and faith toward Jesus Christ. So it's not just a matter of believing the creed. Yes, Jesus was
or
this,
something,
and Jesus
being
did that,
albino
and so on.
helped us survive.
That's important. But it's also to recognize that we have broken God's laws, hence the need of repentance.
But I mean, don't Baptists and Catholics and all of their religions, they repent of their sins. I mean, that's what you're saying. They need to repent. They need to believe in Jesus.
You think about
And that's what they do.
$25 coming to get you.
Salvation,
And you're in your tenant.
you know, you're close.
So you think about $25.
But I don't believe that salvation is something you do. When God convinces you of the truth, He so changes your heart
You get a
that
guy, you
now
think about
you hate
$25, and
sin
when you
and
sleep,
you love righteousness.
Right,
put
but
in the ground,
I
and you tie the
mean,
dog
it's
around
fair
the
to say that people
and
in
the
other
cobra does come.
religions,
The dog
you can't judge them. You don't know their heart.
No, I did not say that you had to be one denomination or another to go to heaven. In fact, I said something quite different.
You said a lot of Baptists aren't safe.
That's right.
Why?
They are, because they won't even make the confessions that you've already made.
Speaking of not safe, I mean, you've got a pretty nice suit here. You look like a pretty upper middle class man. Now, Jesus said that wealthy men cannot go into the kingdom of heaven. Is that true? It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a wealthy man to enter.
He said it's easier for them.
The camel to pass to the
Well,
eye.
if you trust in your riches, you see, in their religion, it kind of taught that if you were wealthy, it was a definite sign of God's favor on you. Jesus said nothing of the sort. And He gave the parable of the rich man and Lazarus. Now here's a rich man, he had everything money could buy, and there's this old beggar laying out by his gate. And the dogs came and licked his sores every day. But that rich man did not have saving faith in Jesus Christ, but Lazarus did. And the Bible says
I actually
the rich
saw a
man
Christian
died
website. They were like,
in
this language is
torments in
so
hell.
offensive, and they're insulting the Pope. I was
To
like,
heaven, and he saw
did you hear the whole
Abraham,
song?
and he saw Lazarus.
Did you hear like
and he
the
said,
ending
Abraham,
middle
please
of the
send
song
Lazarus
where
to
it's
give
like,
me a little
if
drink
this
of water.
offends you,
I am dying of
more
thirst down
than
here.
the Pope
And
covering
Jesus
up for
spoke of
child
this
rapists.
as literally the conditions of those in hell.
Something wrong with
And
your
so
Why even
that's
call him the Pope?
a thing to show that rich people know they definitely are not closer to God.
The point that you're making is that the point in the Bible is that rich men have to deal with a lot more there's a lot more temptation when you have that much money. I think that was the point in the Bible, wasn't it?
Well, that's true.
Is that the rich men have that money and
They might trust in
Yay,
their
rich
wealth
people.
instead of God.
And Mark, doesn't Jesus actually tell a rich man to give his wealth away?
He said that to the rich young ruler, to one particular guy.
And
But that's not a teaching.
He walked off like, I can't do this. I can't.
Yeah, he loved his money more than God. But he doesn't like say that as a blanket statement so that if you
So it
have
doesn't
money,
apply to you.
he didn't ever say that all wealthy people must give their money away. In fact, Abraham was not poor. He was a godly man. Job was not poor. He was a wealthy man. He was a godly man. And so having money doesn't make a guy a bad guy either. In fact, he probably got it through diligence. Some people learned to trust him. It's not all, crooked. A lot of it is, but I'm a small businessman, actually. I have a contracting company, and I have repeat business because customers see I do what I say I'm going to do. They've learned to trust me, and so they call me again. And if you apply good Christian principles, it can prosper you. But that's not the gospel that I preach, because having money doesn't get you 1 inch closer to God. Neither being poor, that doesn't get you any closer to God. But it does present more temptations. You can get yourself in a lot more trouble.
But he also says the much is given, much is expected. So people with money are expected to give more freely, correct?
That's exactly what it says. That's right. But yeah, we're not deserving of God's mercies. That's the thing. We have broken God's laws.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But when you receive forgiveness of sins in Jesus Christ, it's not now, I'm better. No, I'm not one bit better. But my Savior is my confidence. He's actually a substitute. God could smile at me because I'm inside of Jesus Christ. He's my stand-in. That's the whole gospel. And until you get to a point where your confidence is fully in who Jesus is and what He did, you haven't really trusted Him. Because to trust Him for salvation is to trust Him completely, not my baptism, not I'm a good person, not anything I've done, but what Jesus did.
So don't you think a lot of what you're doing here is it's like portraying that you are better than some of the people you're talking to?
It's like you know something.
It's so easy to say that, but you know what Jesus told His disciples? Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel
Yeah, but
to
you also
every
said to
creature.
love your neighbor, to love everyone around you.
But you know, there is no better way to love someone than to tell them about the gift of God, which is eternal life,
Right.
and to warn them of their wicked way.
Right,
And so
I agree with
it
that, but
is-
when it comes off
it is
attacking, it's
love.
going to turn people off.
Well, you know, some people do get turned off. You know, Stephen was the church's first martyr. They stoned him. They got so fiery mad at him because he kept showing them where they're sinful. They're sinful. But that wasn't hate. They were sinful.
Right.
They just didn't want somebody to tell them that.
I agree, but if the point of this whole, of you guys coming out here is, I'm assuming it's to win people to Christ, correct?
It's to obey Christ's commands.
Right, but
And to
if
bring
you coming
glory
out
to
here
Him.
and it seems like you're talking down to people, like, I know you don't mean like that, but
We've all
maybe you
said
should
we don't
rethink
deserve
your
it.
approach, because it seems to me that there's a lot of people out here very turned off what you're saying and very hateful.
I agree.
Well, you know,
maybe you should
that
rethink
if
your
they
approach.
hate my Savior,
Just
actually,
that
I might
sign
not be
that just
so
says you are
glad.
sinners just proves his point completely. The
I
sign.
don't want to
But you
create
also-
any extra.
but
I
you
don't want to
also-
create any extra animosity.
Well, you're claiming that people are sinners right there for advertising that website. You are sinners.
On good authority, because God says so without exception. He says, "There is not a just man on the earth that doeth good and sinneth not." There's never been a person on this pavement that's never sinned against God.
Right.
And,
Why
and,
did
and I'm no
God create
exception
us
to that.
with sin?
But
I've
you know,
never
some
sinned
of
against
these
God,
people,
because there is
even
no
though they
God
have,
to sin against.
even though they have covered the world with their sin,
We're sinning against his own laws. I made a law.
righteousness of
That was-
Jesus Christ has been
Shit,
taken
you're
to their
fucked.
account.
Why did God create us with sin?
Yeah, you're screwed,
He
dude.
did not create us with sin. He created Adam and Eve
No, he did.
innocent and
No,
sin
no,
and man
No,
willfully.
because
He
we
gave
are
him free
born
choice.
with a, we have free
Man-
choice.
man rebelled
He's
against
omnipotent. He
God
should
is
know.
omniscient, right?
Right.
He knows
He should
know
everything that
the
we're
choice.
going to do. How do we have free choice when He knows what we're going to do?
It doesn't affect what you're going to do.
The fact that he
knowing what you're
Because
going
when
to
He
do.
still knows that we're really on a set path, aren't we?
He has the power to change. He has the power, but he also he doesn't make you go against your will. The Bible talks
made our
about
will.
Pharaoh in the Old Testament.
He did. He
raised
made our
up this
will.
he raised up this wicked king of Egypt because he knew he would keep hardening his heart. If you put him in this kind of a situation, he's going to do that. And so God put him in that kind of a situation, and sure enough, he just lived up to his own character. And you see, that's what condemns us, is our own character and our own deeds.
Which He made. Well, yeah,
We
which
have
He
done
made.
what we should not have done.
Yeah, but does
He
God
made
know
it
if
all.
you're going to go right or left? Does that affect your decision?
Well, it actually does. It means that I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
It means that if I decided to go left, He already knew.
It didn't make you do it.
It didn't necessarily directly make me do it, but it means that I didn't have the choice to go right. If He knew I was going to go left, that means I never had the choice to go right, doesn't it? It was only ever going to be that way.
You need to think, like, God is like above time,
Hey,
right?
listen, you can say that all your life. But at the end, when you stand before God, He's going to show you that you willfully, freely chose to reject Jesus Christ.
take the
And
point
you're going to
from-
blame Him for that?
We'll take the point from a
You cannot-
Muslim. He'll
you
say,
cannot pass the blame that belongs on you onto God.
If He
Like, what
made me knowing that I was going to take that path in life, how can He blame me for doing exactly what He made me to do?
He didn't make you a sinner. Our first parents rebelled against God, and we're
and
their
we're going to be
children.
punished for everything
Yeah,
they
in the
did,
very
generations
least,
down.
He knew I was going to sin.
Okay, well, I'm gonna let
You know what? You know what? This is
But he
going
also
to blow
gives you
you
a
away.
choice to
You are not going to like what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. You know, God is glorified when He punishes wicked sinners. That actually shows how good God is when He wreaks vengeance on those that deserve the vengeance. Our problem is we're so proud and blind that we don't think we deserve anything bad to happen to us. But that's just because we don't understand. God never apologized for destroying humanity in the day of Noah. Put that one in your pipe. He wiped out the world, and He didn't come back around and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I lost my temper." And things didn't. The floods went higher than I thought they were going to do, and I made a terrible mistake. No, God didn't do that. God said, "It grieves me that I've made man. I'm going to wipe him out." I'm
But it wasn't
I'm
his
telling
own
you about the
rules.
real
He's a
God, not
murderer.
It
about
was His own rules,
said he
though.
screwed
If
up.
I
I had
put
to
up a
start
bunch
over.
of bowling
What about the
pins and say
dinosaurs?
you can't fall
That's what
over
I'm trying to
and
argue, but I
push a
can't
bowling
give
ball
my
down,
talk in.
Yeah.
About
Then, yeah,
evolution.
they're
I don't care about any of
gonna
this moral
yell at the
stuff,
bowling
but
pins for
evolution is a
falling.
No,
fact.
listen, God takes credit for the flood.
Choice they fall
I just learned about
God's
the
not
dinosaurs.
apologizing about it.
Raptor Jesus.
I mean, I'm an atheist, so I
Same thing.
I'm just listening right now.
He makes the scenario
It's just
says,
going
I
on
know
my
that
YouTube
this
channel.
is gonna sin, so I'm gonna let it
Wait,
go.
Listen, you are blaming